Today is Thursday, the 22nd of January, and before we get into the Punter Roundtable, I'd like to introduce Big Game USA. Big Game manufactures footballs for many of the elite college programs, and they make them right here in Dallas, Texas. I've known those boys over there at Big Game for nearly a decade, and they made sure that the footballs I kicked at LSU and Rice were kicker friendly. To receive 10% off your order, please go to biggameusa.com, scroll to the bottom of the page, and click Kicker Footballs. Enter the promo code SimpleKick2021. Again, that is SimpleKick2021 for 10% off your kicking football order.
But once I get out there, man, I have my cues and things that I do before every single kick. And it's like, I don't know if you've seen some of the baseball movies, but like the mechanism thing is really big for me. Like the loudest punt I've ever been a part of, I was backed up at Alabama. Actually, there's two of them, Alabama and Florida. And people were like, dude, it was so loud. Like, I'm like, I didn't hear anything.
It's good to have the mindset, I want to go out there and punt. If you start having the mindset like, oh, please get the first down, I'll play punt right now. That's like, you can't have that mindset. Even if it's like the fourth quarter, we beat them. And I had 4 punts. Like I said, I knew my average was pretty high. I don't like to think about it that much, but I was like, this is nice. Thank you, God.
If you're into hearing journeys on going from 0 to 100 real quick, as Michael Turk at Arizona State and Zach Von Rosenberg at LSU both did, then this Punter Roundtable is for you. Lee, hit the theme.
Welcome to Simple Kicking with your host, James Harrison.
Michael Turk, Arizona State University, and Zach Van Rosenberg, or is it Von Rosenberg?
Von Rosenberg.
There you go. I'm already 0 for 1, and we're only 20 seconds into this thing. What's up, guys?
How's it going?
What's up?
So we had an Aussie Roundtable, a punter roundtable with Lou Hedley and Max Duffy a couple weeks ago, and as luck would have it, now we have two of the best American punters in college football. So thanks, guys, for joining.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks for having us.
All right, let's go into this. A couple of years ago, you guys weren't punting footballs. How the heck did you become such great punters in such a short period of time?
You know, I was playing baseball, and obviously that dream ended, and my baseball career came to an end. And I kind of set a new dream. And at the time, it wasn't to be a punter at LSU. It was to play quarterback or a position, tight end, whatever it may be. And I was willing to do whatever it took to do that. And whenever I did come back, I saw a fit at punter, and I had punted when I was a kid, but I hadn't punted a football in like 8 years at the time, or 7 years at the time. And I was like, you know what, why not? I'll give it a shot. And sure enough, I still had a strong leg because I played soccer my whole life. And it was just about, finding what worked for me, because I'm kind of an unorthodox punter, and plus I'm left footed. And, years of repetition, and just a year in, really about a year and a half in, I felt really confident in myself and thought I could be an elite punter at this level, and really refined my skills and got better. I guess my weakest punt at the beginning would have been my going in punt, or, I guess the coffin corner, we call it a dagger punt at LSU, because you're trying to, put a dagger in their offense, put them as close to the goal line as possible. But that was my weakest punt. And now I would consider those punts my strongest punts. And that just took a lot of time and dedication and want to. And here we are. I've kind of well-rounded my game as best as I can. And I honestly think I'm still improving, every year, which is kind of crazy, even though I've been doing it for 5 years now. But I still think there's a lot left in the tank, and I can still improve a lot in my craft.
Yeah, it helps when you have Joe Burrow, a generational quarterback, to give you easier punts that are going in, call it in the plus area, versus being backed up around your own 15-yard line or something like that.
Yeah, for sure. And I want to ask Zach later on too what he meant by not traditional, because I haven't ever seen Zach punt.
Well, shoot, get into it now. This is a roundtable.
I would just say my mechanics are a little different. I swing a little unorthodox.
How so?
I would say I swing more across my body than a straight up and down punter does. And then a lot of things that work for other people, at least whenever I've gotten advice from other punters, a lot of those things didn't work for me. One of them was standing upright when I punted, like keeping my chest high, I guess, if you will. And I finished that way, but on contact, I can't. It's difficult for me to hit a the ball that I can hit without being at least a little hunched over. And a lot of guys say, "Oh, I'm losing some power," but I hit more consistent punts when I'm a little bit hunched over. And they, like I said, it may take 0.25 off my hang time or whatever, but my punts are, my ball striking's more consistent. And I tried it. I tried to change my form a little bit, but I just stuck with what I was comfortable with, and that's what it was.
Oh, nice. I didn't punt in high school. I went to 2 years of high school in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and I played safety there. And then also when I moved into Houston, Texas, I played safety at Ridgepoint High School. And a lot of people don't know this, but I had 3 ACL surgeries in high school. So essentially my athletic career was just obviously non-existent essentially in high school, except for my senior year. I the second game in, my last play at safety, actually, I forced a fumble, and I just kind of felt something. I knew that it wasn't right. So sure enough, I went to the doctor, got the MRI, and that was the third time I tore my ACL. And then I was just really also in high school, I went through a lot of other things, and I'm thankful that the Lord saved me, because I was definitely on the not a good track for my first 2 years, and then kind of got my life back on the straight and narrow path my junior year. And so just my senior year, reading the Bible and praying about what to do next, I just got the desire in my heart to start punting, which is kind of odd, because I mean, if I didn't punt all throughout high school, I don't know what I was going to try to do. At the same time, it wasn't that odd though, because my uncle punted in the NFL for 19 years, and my brother Ben punted 4 years at Notre Dame. And so I was just like, why didn't I do this? Why didn't I choose this first before safety? I don't know. I just wanted to play football, I guess. I didn't think a punter was a football player. But then Ben offered for me to live with him for a gap year in Dallas, because I was living with my uncle, and that was a great time in Houston. I was definitely growing a lot as a person and as a man. But then I was going to go to junior college. I was going to go to Blinn Junior College and just try to learn how to punt while I was at junior college. And then I got some advice from a family friend to just take a gap year. And that's when Ben offered for me to live with him in Dallas, Texas. And really, I just went out every day, and I can't thank my family enough. And Ben, because he'd wake up before work at 6 a.m. to go work out with me at a nice gym. And then he'd carve out time to go punt with me. And then even when he went to work, sometimes he didn't know this, but I would Uber, go back to the field and just stay there all day, hitting punts, sometimes till literally I felt like I was about to pass out. And then eventually I started getting better, was actually turning the ball over and hitting respectable high school punts. And then it really just a lot of improvement by the grace of God within the last 3 months of my gap year. I started hitting 4.7s occasionally, and always above a 4.5 if I was recording a set, and at least 45 yards. And then one day I made film when I was punting at SMU. I made film, and it was I had a pretty good day of continuous punts, and I sent that out to schools. And Ben is so good at networking because he's a finance job, so he sent it out to every school. And obviously he tried to leverage my uncle, the last name of my uncle punting and him punting. And so a lot of schools were just kind of well, first of all, you had, 3 ACL surgeries and you didn't punt in high school. So, you can come walk on here. So I had a lot of preferred walk-on offers, even to bigger schools like Texas A&M and stuff. But I didn't have any money, and I didn't want to go into debt. Maybe that was, prideful of me, but I just really didn't want to do that. So then one day when Ben was at work, I went back to Highland Park High School. I got some more film. There were some high schoolers who I think they were skipping class or something because they were just on the field by themselves. I paid them $5 to record me, and I had one pretty probably one of my better sets ever since I started punting. And they were just holding the phone vertically, and it was 10 punts in a row. And I had a 5-second punt on there too. And then I sent that out to more schools. And that's when Lafayette College, a Division I AA school, they offered me a full ride scholarship just off of my YouTube film. And I was obviously elated at that. And I wasn't going to stick my nose up at that because I was still Division I football, and I didn't punt in high school. So I was like, I'll take it. I don't have to go into debt. And so fast forward, now here I'm at ASU after transferring and redshirting, and really just by the grace of God to reading the Bible all throughout to know what to do next. And there's some other stuff, but yeah, that's kind of an overview.
Dude, that sounds miraculous. I mean,
it really is by the grace. Yeah, for sure.
Wait, Zach, you played high school football, but then you go play professional baseball for 6-7 years. Michael, you had 3 ACL surgeries. I mean, you guys both kind of overcame odds that are not found on the, kicking circuit of going to camps and showcases and that kind of that orthodox way of going from a high school kid who has a dream to being somebody who has a spot on a collegiate roster.
Zach, you played 6 years of baseball?
Yeah, 2009 to 2015.
That's cool.
But yeah, no, it was a journey, and yeah, he's right. I didn't know all that about you either. 3 ACL surgeries, you got a scholarship off of YouTube film. Like, my story is similar in the sense that I made film playing quarterback. That's how I was able to walk on the team. I made film as a quarterback to walk on LSU.
Oh, wait. So when you walked on, did they know at all that you could punt?
No,
bro. Weren't there punters in there who were on scholarship? And like, what happened? You just were like, did you come out one day? That's actually very bizarre. That's like me, if I go out to pre-practice and all of a sudden one of our quarterbacks starts punting, like I couldn't even picture that. How'd that even happen? And
the roles reversed too. So they didn't know I could punt. They knew I could play quarterback in another position. But I walk on about 6-8 months in, they realized I could punt. I started punting. I won the backup punter job, and I didn't punt my whole first year in 2016.
Sorry to interrupt, but how'd they realize you could punt?
I was just messing around before practice. I would just be messing around. They'd see me punting back and forth.
What? Oh my gosh.
Our backup punter, he got through. He got a little bit of trouble and had a transfer. And but yeah, it was kind of bizarre that I was able to be the backup punter, and I was able to travel to a couple of away games that first year in 2016, but I didn't punt in 2016. I didn't punt until the following year.
So you traveled not as a QB, but as a backup quarterback, mainly?
As a tight end.
Oh, as a tight end. Okay.
Yeah.
What number did you wear?
What's that?
What number did you wear when you were a tight end?
I was 46. Yeah. But yeah, it's bizarre. It's still bizarre to think about because my goal and my vision when I first started was not to punt, and it's still funny to talk about because I still remember when I first walked on in spring 2016. I was like, I'm going to play quarterback or tight end. I'm going to have I'm going to be a role player, and then the opportunity presented itself. I started punting, and I wasn't good right away. It took me about a year to really get good again. But it came back pretty quick.
So when you're in the starting spot,
2017,
how'd that happen? Just during training camp or something?
Well, our punter at the time, his name was Josh Groudon. He was punting, and he had a little bit of struggles against BYU, and I think it was Mississippi State and maybe one other team. And then I was just able to get an opportunity in a game, and I don't remember. I think my first punt was 44 yards. I didn't play the next game, and then he had another, iffy punt, and then I went in, and I didn't get taken out again for 4 years. And that was I got my opportunity. Ironically, I got my opportunity to be the backup, and then after 2 games in 2017, I got my opportunity to be the starter, and then never looked back really. And I've been playing ever since. And ironically, Josh ended up transferring. He started at West Virginia for a season, and he was a good punter. We just didn't play. We didn't play to Josh's strengths. Josh was Australian rules punter, and if we'd have rugby punted, I don't know if he would have ever lost his job because he was really consistent at that Aussie punt. And our coach McMahon, he was more of a pro style punt, and that played to my strengths, and it gave me a little bit of an edge, I guess.
And at LSU, so I kicked at LSU from 2011 to 2014, and you're the first American since Derek Helton. We had Brad Wing, Jamie Keene, and Groudon, all who were Aussies. So if you had Les Miles as your coach, you would be facing an even more of an uphill battle because Coach Miles really favored the Aussies.
Yeah, because according to him, I don't speak Australian.
But that's true. I mean, literally, dude, like in his mind, as I played for him, you were walking on while he was there and kind of on his way out. God bless him. But you didn't speak Australian. Therefore, sorry, brother, you're likely not going to be punting for the purple and gold.
Yeah, and that was his philosophy. He liked the Australian guys, and I'm just happy I was given an opportunity to change that up.
Zach, how many years do you still have another year in college?
So I could have came back this year with the extra COVID year, but I decided to come out and
okay.
Yeah, I'll do pro days, and
nice.
I think they canceled the combine, but I'll be going to whatever I can. I haven't really, I'm going to Hula Bowl on Monday. But I don't know what the plans are besides, the combine right now. I know that they'll come to LSU for our pro day, but we'll see.
So this is Zach Von Rosenberg. He's the punter at LSU, now going to the NFL, as he was talking about, and Michael Turk, who's at Arizona State. Michael, you had a breakout year in 2019. Like, insane. In fact, it was the 20th best punting season in the last 10 years. I went through all the data that I possibly could find, and you ranked number 20. The guys that were ahead of you are mostly in the NFL. Those names are littered across the league. You scored a 97.2 on the Simple Kicking Punting Rating, which is just a fancy way of saying James made a formula on using some Rice University stats that I learned.
Oh, cool.
Dude, that's insane. So then you go and declare for the NFL draft, the process now that Zach's in.
Mm-hmm.
How did you get so good so quick, man? I mean, I know you got a vertical video at Highland Park Stadium, which I can look out my window. Like, there's the stadium right over there. Okay, I can read the Bible. Okay, I've got my crucifix right there. I go to mass every Sunday. But there's also a part that is in your hands on a day-to-day. What are you doing to prepare yourself technically? Like, let's just start with the technique. How in the world did you learn how to be that good that quick?
Yeah, thanks for the compliments. And I like what Zach said earlier too about still getting better, because I feel like definitely, Lord willing, I know that I still have a lot to improve on. So I appreciate the compliments. But even that season, there's a lot of stuff I could have done much better. But you mentioned reading the Bible. I just say that first and foremost, because I think it's really the mindset and like what's driving you, I guess. And so that transcendent purpose definitely helps me stay out there and train that much longer. And in terms of my training schedule, I feel like a lot of guys, if you go to like kicking camps or ask coaches for high schoolers, they'll tell you at least this is what I hear when I talk to high schoolers, they tell them, like, their coach tells them to hit 30 to 50 balls and then, work out legs twice a week. Me and Ben, we did not have that philosophy at all. Me and Ben, my older brother, he actually got back into punting once he started training me because he started loving it so much. We go out 6 days a week to punt and work out legs like 3 to 4 times a week, just depending on, it doesn't have to be super concrete and structured, just depending on how sore your legs feel. But I think it was just that helped me get better so fast, because you can only get better at something if you practice it. And so as long as you're staying flexible and taking care of your body, I think it would benefit punters to just punt a lot more than, maybe a lot of coaches recommend. And also during my gap year, there's so much punting film online nowadays. Like, you could sit on YouTube and watch different punters for hours. And so I would watch every punting video. I'm sure you guys have both seen, the major ones by, with Cole's kicking, like the biggest punts ever captured on film and all that. And so I would just watch all the NFL guys and compare it to my film, because me and Ben would record each other every day. And so, yeah. And a shameless plug to my YouTube channel too, called Hang Time. I have I made a how to punt video. And so I think there's just a lot you can learn online. So I had a whole year of doing that. And I carried that over to college too, because even sometimes it wouldn't be enough for me just to work on punting at practice. I would go like later on in the day to the basketball court and do drops on the wood floor on the lines, and then do some drill work at the field in the evening. And so I think just like the repetition and doing a lot of it is what helped me get better.
Yeah.
Fast.
And so I was looking at your YouTube channel again. It's Hang Time. Please subscribe to Hang Time, because if you're a punter,
subscribe. Thank you.
I mean, I even learned something from you when you talked about, how to punt a football from your perspective. That's awesome,
nice.
man. Like Thomas Morstead said, whatever you give will grow, whatever you keep will die. And you're a guy that gives away back to the universe. And I think that's going to come back to you through your little YouTube channel, Hang Time. I think it's awesome. And by the way, it's not little. You've got almost 4,000 subscribers. That's a big deal. So I'm super pumped for that.
Thank you.
Dude, you had this drive. I mean, whether it's 3 times a week that you were working out or 5 days a week that you're punting, whatever it is, you stayed with it. You stuck with it. And, having such a breakout season like that, dude, when there was really good dudes ahead of you, like Sterling Hofrichter, who's now at Atlanta, Joe Charlton, who's at, Carolina. We've had some really deep talent in 2019 and 2020. You know, and both of you dudes, like Zach, you improved almost 7% on the simple kicking punting rating in a season.
From 2019 to
2020. Now, you have a great season and you're a key asset for the team, you know, winning the national championship. Again, this is a roundtable, so it doesn't just have to be me, but I'm just looking at this and I'm like, something that these guys are doing is causing them such remarkable growth. And this is a totally unorthodox story that both of you guys have.
For me, in 2019, I identified the things that I really struggled at. And one of those was, well, we call them blue punts. We changed up the name this year. I won't say that because I bet they'll use it again next year. But blue punts are basically going to the left. So I started kicking and leaning to kicking all red punts. Well, I made that my strength in 2020, and my left punts became much, much better. And that was partially because I had to make an adjustment of how I dropped the ball, because I was comfortable only hitting it with a draw to the right. It's opposite for Michael. Once I got over that and made my punt just more consistent in terms of the field punt, I'm hitting straight lines now. It's not about playing a draw. It's about hitting straight line punts. And then I also realized that my dagger punts, going in punts, were lacking, and I couldn't control them as well as I like to. And that's what I really hammered once COVID hit. I think there was probably a month where I didn't hit a single field punt. I didn't hit a single spiral in a whole month. All I did the entire time was hit nose down punts. And I noticed a dramatic change in how, accurate I became and the comfortability aspect of my punting, and especially that punt, because I identified it as my weakness. And once I really grinded through that, I think this year I only had 2 touchbacks, and one of them really shouldn't have been a touchback. But I really got comfortable hitting those punts and it not being a weakness for me anymore.
Zach, how many games did you play?
We played 10. We were 5-5.
And you only had 2 touchbacks out of 10 games?
Yeah, two touchbacks.
Yeah, that's impressive, man, because I had more touchbacks than I wanted, and I didn't even have as many games as you, but that'll obviously just save your net. The touchbacks are the net killers, and
for sure,
so that's pretty impressive.
What we got here?
So we've got a 34-yard punt on the right hash in the NFL. This is going to be right of the right hash. You're a guy that's kind of leaning over. This is, again, right hash kick. You're a left-footed kicker. This is your first punt of the game. The reason why I pulled this up is you were named Ray Guy Punter of the Week. Now, that's pretty cool. So do you remember this punt, or do you all just kind of want to roll through it and just kind of talk about what you're thinking, what your mindset is going into this punt? Again, 34. This is the minus 34 on the right hash.
Yeah, this is my first punt in the game. I think I'm just trying to hit a nice and easy punt, nothing crazy, and those tend to be my best punts. Is a good snap, and I'm trying to make sure I get that ball outside numbers. I'm not sure if I get it all the way over there, but yeah, I hit it to the hash. I can't believe he caught that, to be honest with you. I thought he should have let it go to be a touchback. But I mean, his lost my gain, right? But I was happy. I think he caught it at the 7-yard line, and that probably saved my net on that punt. It would have been a 46-yard net, which is still great, but that ended up being at least 55-yard net.
So your mindset going into this, just nice and easy, just make solid contact. Is that the mindset?
Yeah, the wind in this game was also a factor, and I knew that before going in. I just knew I needed to be nice and easy and let the wind do its thing, because he was not comfortable. If you see how he catches that ball, he's gone one way and then realized the ball came back the other way, and that's why he didn't feel comfortable trying to run with it. He fair caught it almost immediately because it was probably dancing a little bit in the wind.
And the wind was against you?
That one it's like a crosswind. It was probably like from my left to right. So it was blowing to that corner of the end zone. And I think it switched in the second half. It was the opposite kind of blowing the other way. But it was swirling. That was a fun game to punt in, because I knew if I just hit a good ball, I'm not going to be comfortable fielding it. I believe he let 2 of them hit the ground later in the game because they were moving around so much. We'll see him here in a minute.
I just charted this on the Simple Kicking app. That was a 58-yard punt, and the timings could be wrong because we're videoing off YouTube, and there could be some latency issues. But that was a 58-yard punt with about 4.33 seconds of hang. The ball, it was hand to foot, 1.5 seconds.
A little slow on the. I need to be a little quicker on the get off, but I would like to have that be like a 4.8. I'd really like a 50-yard 4.8 there, because once you start stretching, 55 yards under 4.5, you can get in some trouble with return game. But I was just, like I said, with the wind, I knew he wasn't going to be comfortable, and the ball was flying pretty nice, and so I was just trying to hit a nice and easy punt. And that's how it usually is in the first punt. I want it to be more directionally focused, and that one, honestly, in the middle of the field, I wasn't too happy about that, but I want it to be directional more so than distance and hang, because I want them to see how it's almost near the hash. I really want that ball outside of the numbers, as close to the sidelines as I can, to be
So the way that I see that, and look, we're going to nerd out on punting here just for a second, is because in the NFL, what I found was balls that are in this blue area, right? So you see how that ball is blue? That's balls that are in between the hash mark and the top of the numbers, right? But if you get the ball to the green area, right? Well, what ends up happening is you eliminate return yards, period. So if the ball lands within the 10-yard line in the blue area, then they are going to return that ball on average 2.9 yards. And these numbers came from the first 8 weeks of the NFL season. I'm going to update it here in a couple of weeks as I'm, getting the rest of the data. But as you can see there, 2.9 yards if the ball lands within the 10-yard line between the hash mark and the top of the numbers.
This is a great chart. I've never seen something like this. This is awesome.
Let's check out the green area. So keep 2.9 in your head. 1.7.
Wow. Yeah, that's awesome.
Mike, is that something that you're seeing as well when you're playing in the Pac-12?
Yeah. And that's something I'm trying to work on too and get better at, is directional punting, because I know that's a big emphasis at the next level. So that makes sense. I like these charts.
Dude, it's insane. In the next level, these guys are returning things that, like at LSU, basically they told us at LSU, and I had a great special teams coordinator, Thomas McGay. He's at the New York Giants. He's the special teams coordinator there. And, I wasn't always around him, so don't quote me, but it was my understanding that guys would just fair catch it if the ball went behind them on the 8-yard line. So put your heels at 8. If it goes over you, let it go. But if it's in front of you, fair catch it. That's not the case in the NFL. Tommy Townsend, rookie guy who came out in last year's class, again, speaking to the volumes of how deep that 2019 class was, dude, the guy hit like a 4.5. The ball was on the 5 in the green zone, and the Buffalo returner, and this is really kind of makes a lot of sense because they're playing in the AFC Championship this week. The Buffalo returner guy, he returned it 24 yards. That ball is normally fair caught.
Yeah, they're willing to take more risk in the NFL because they trust their guys to make blocks, and in situations like that, it just tells me I'm going to hit the ball out of bounds inside the 10.
I'm sure the maybe the gunners let up thinking, oh, he's for sure going to fair catch this, and then
that's possible too. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. That's a good point.
What I don't like in the NFL nowadays is I think a lot of the punters are too scared though, and the coaches just settle for them hitting open field punts. They're just hitting like 44-yard drop punts. And, I don't know. I think that's just kind of weak. Like if you're going to be one of the best 32 punters in the world, I mean, I think that a lot of it too is the coaches are just scared about losing their jobs. So they're just figuring, oh, okay, well, if we do this, if we do this 44-yard drop punt, most likely it's going to be a fair catch. So we'll just settle for that. But I don't know. I don't like that. I really don't like that trend, because why not be like Jack Fox, who in the open field most of the time hit spirals, and he was the best punter in the league this year. So
I can answer why they do that, because I saw a chart this past year. It showed field position, and a ball inside, it was at the 12 and in, the percent of them actually scoring on that drive, because it had to do with a certain number of plays that it took to get to the 50-yard line. But the chances that they score, of them scoring with the ball on the 12 and in, were like either 9 or 11% less. So it goes from like chance of scoring, let's say on a normal drive, the chance of scoring is 52%. Well, just because it's inside that, it's at 40% or even less, depending on the team, because certain offenses aren't lethal. But literally the percent, like a normal, if it's at the 30, it's a certain percent, 20, it's a certain percent.
Yeah.
That jump from 20 to 10 yard line is gigantic because people's playbooks are so different. They're playing so much more conservative because they don't want to give up an easy touchdown because of
for sure. Yeah. And I know the field position's obviously way more crucial than people think. And on the going in, you should hit the drop punt. I agree. I was saying like when they're just like open field, so you're on your minus 20. A lot of times if you watch games now, a lot of punters are doing only drop punts. And I was just saying a lot of times that can eliminate the return, even though sometimes it doesn't even do that. I was just saying like, why can't the coaches and the punters get on the same page of like just trusting their talent to, hit a 55-yard punt on the sideline with like a 5-second hang. I think Jack Fox did a great job at that.
Yeah, and drop punt meaning that means like the nose is down, right?
Yeah, okay. Yeah, drop punt meaning nose is down. So not trying to hit a spiral punt, maximizing your biggest punt.
Yeah, so this is Jack Fox's numbers. Then again, this is through the first 8 weeks. I sent this to all the NFL squads, but I mean the guy had the 12 punts over 5 seconds at that point in the season. This is a rookie. Again, Jack Fox from the 2018 class, kind of a little bit of a hard entry into the NFL, not quite like Elliott Fry, who I just had on the podcast. But dude, Jack absolutely was above average totally in the NFL. And you know what I'm seeing from what you guys posted this year? You guys are just about NFL average. Because if you see this, the NFL averages 46.2 yards in gross. Michael, you were above that, and Zach, you were really, really close to it. I don't know y'all's hang times, but y'all's nets are both. Like, Zach, you were 42 yards this year in net. I mean, you guys have the NFL talent, and this unorthodox approach that you guys, have come to and how you guys have improved so much is remarkable. And that's what's kind of fun to have both you guys on this roundtable as we're kind of nerding out here. I mean, you guys could have really significantly long careers in the NFL. Maybe you know it, but maybe you don't. And some of this data is kind of, interesting.
I think it's cool looking at this because it just shows how elite Fox is. His stuff is insane. At net, his 48-yard net right there, that's insane.
Yeah, that's nice. Insane.
And then like another guy I like is Cory Bojorquez, at the Buffalo Bills. He was having a really good season through 8 weeks as well. And I know he finished off pretty strong, but I just thought this would be fun to kind of nerd out because Cory, hit some really, really long kicks this year. But one thing I wanted to point out is how important this directional punting is. I mean, his accuracy is, just below the NFL average at 74%. But again, these greens are so critical in the game. And that's what I hope, the punters out there that are listening is if your team is calling for directional punting, like Zach was saying in one of his punts that he wishes the ball, would be preferably landing between the numbers and the boundary.
And it just eliminates a lot of the field that you have to worry about covering. You're essentially getting a 12th man. The 12th man is the sideline. On defense, you're defending a play with 12 people, and just having it close to the sideline. Number one, it makes the returner more uncomfortable because like, all right, I only know that I can go that way. I can go to the big field, but so does everybody else. Everybody knows you have to go to the big field. So you have one option, and it's easier to make a play on you.
Yeah. And here's Sterling, right? So there's a guy that came out last year, and his accuracy was 92%. I mean, that is so critical, and that's probably what helped him keep his job this year is straight up the accuracy. So as you guys are, trudging the road to your dreams of the NFL, I just thought that would be kind of fun to take a look at.
That was a good, that was a really good breakdown. I like that. That was cool. I might get you to send it to me.
Yeah. Hey, this is the Special Teams Lounge. This is where we can nerd out. We talk about stories. We share stuff and we hang out with one another.
Well, I know too. When you're talking to the coach, like when I was at the combine and stuff, that was a big question. Like looking at my film, because a lot of my punts in that 2019 season were down the middle. And so they were just wondering like, hey, was your coach calling directional and are you able to do that? And so, that's definitely going to be an emphasis of mine
Michael, you had a NCAA record in 2019.
That was the first game against Kent State for the highest average in a game. So that was a fun one. Honestly, that was the funnest game of my life because that was my first game. It was after my redshirt year, and that was a fun year of getting better. It felt like gap year 2.0, and I just had to sit out every game and watch the games just at home from my laptop. And so I was just having fun and thanking the Lord that whole game because just the way it even set up for me to have 5 punts. Usually it's hard to even get 5 punts in a game, but then also none of them were drop punt situations. And it's funny because I was 4 punts in, and this is my first game I played 1 year at Lafayette College, but this is my first high level Division I game. So I was sitting on the sideline thinking, I was like, man, thank you, God. I'm like, I've had 4 punts and I know my average is like pretty high right now. So I was like, I don't know exactly what it is, but so I was like, I know it's pretty high. And to be honest, maybe Zach can relate with this. It's good to have the mindset. I want to go out there and punt. If you start having the mindset like, oh, please get the first down, I'll play punter right now. That's like, you can't have that mindset. Even if it's like the fourth quarter. The reason I was thinking that though is because it was the fourth quarter. We already won the game. Kent State, we beat them. And I had 4 punts. Like I said, I knew my average was pretty high. I don't like to think about it that much, but I was like, this is nice. Thank you, God. But then I was like, oh, Jaden, please make this first down. Because there was like, I don't know, like 4 minutes left in the game and we were just backed up and he ended up not. So I ran out there and I wasn't really thinking about anything except just finish strong and focus on my mechanics. And that ended up being my best punt of the game. That was the 75-yarder. So it actually took my average even higher. And then I was just thanking the Lord the whole night. That was like one of the funnest nights of my life because I lived alone too in my dorm and I got back and my brother was texting me. And it felt like all the hard work paid off, like the gap year and everything. And I was just really praising God the whole night. It was fun.
So that was your first kick and that was your first game in D1 big time football when the lights are legitimately on, the TV cameras are there, the sky camera is floating in front of your face.
Yeah. So it was a lot of fun. I was definitely thankful. I was talking with my family before the game. They're, oh, we're going to watch your game tonight. Because it was a kind of a long time coming. The redshirt year. The redshirt year was fun, but it was just it's not the most fun to train and then not be able to play on Saturday. So it just felt like a long time coming, and it was great.
Dude, I remember my first kickoff against West Virginia. They had burned my red shirt, and I was so nervous beforehand. And I have journals about all this. I journaled after every game, and the thing that really stuck out to me, and I don't know if you experienced this, Zach, but there was so much motion around me. There was so much sound around me. There was so much going on that it was just sensory overload that I remember taking my steps. And then the next thing I remember is walking off the field and my coach showing me his stopwatch and recording my hang time. And I'm like, and everyone patted me on the head because it was a really good kick. I mean, at that time you were kicking off from the 30-yard line. But gosh, it happened so quick. Zach, did you experience anything kind of like that? I mean,
so I was fortunate to never be the first play of the game. But for me, it's a little different. And this is probably from my pitching background. On the sidelines, you see here, a lot's going on. But once I get out there, man, I have my cues and things that I do before every single kick. And it's like, I don't know if you've seen some of the baseball movies, but like the mechanism thing is really big for me. Like the loudest punt I've ever been a part of, I was backed up at Alabama. Actually, there's two of them, Alabama and Florida. And people were like, dude, it was so loud. Like, I'm like, I didn't hear anything. Like,
honestly, yeah. Sometimes it's better if it's loud. When I played at Lafayette and it was quiet and I could hear people yelling crap at me in the stands, I'd rather have it just be like, like you just can't, it's so loud. You just kind of like, don't even hear anything,
Exactly. And that's ironic because I found it the most distracting whenever there was nobody in the stands too. Like at A&M this past year, whenever like it's clear, like it's quiet on a punt because there's only 20,000 people there. And also, some profanities at you and you're laughing and you're right, 15 yards deep in the end zone. You're laughing because somebody behind you is saying something like that you actually hear. But like whenever it's a loud stadium and you just don't hear anything. Sound. You don't hear anything at all. Well, you hear sound, but you don't really. Yeah.
That's like at USC. I was out to punt and this guy was something like 25 years soft or something like that. And I was just like, bro, why are you even talking to the punter, first of all? And I'm like, why do I hear this guy right now? And so I know what you mean.
Zach, so you were a pitcher. Were you a starting pitcher? Were you a relief pitcher? What was your strength?
So my first 2009 until 2013, I was a starting pitcher, and then in 2014, I transitioned to relief pitching. And then 2015, I went to spring training, and that was when I got cut or released. But yeah, I was a starting pitcher for all the way up until when I was 23 years old.
Okay, and so you hit low A, you hit high A. Did you make it to double A? What part of the organization did you end up in?
So on paper, I think I'm like a retired high A pitcher. But I had multiple injuries once I got to high A. And then I ended up going back to rehab in low A, and never really made it back up. And I just, like I said, once I got to spring training the following year, my journey had ended in baseball, and my new journey I didn't know it at the time, but a new journey had begun on to become a football player at LSU.
Yeah. So were you left-handed pitcher? Southpaw?
I was right-handed. Throw right and kick left. Yep.
And what do you bat? Because I hear you can hit some home runs too. Are you righty bat or you left?
Righty. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So think about while you were playing, either, high school ball or you're playing travel, or maybe when you were in high A, did you have a scenario of relief pitching that maybe got you ready 5-6 years down the road for that punt against Alabama? Like, is there kind of a similar clear the mechanism mindset that you brought from your relief pitching into your punting?
Coming in clutch situations where, you got to run on first and second base and their best hitters up, or, any late inning, when the game's close, if it's 5-3, 3-1, whatever, and you're coming in, there's guys on base, the tying runs on base. And I would say, especially in situations where there's a good returner against, like 2019, we're playing Alabama at Alabama. And he actually ended up getting a return. That's the only return I've given up in my career was Waddle. When Racey McMath, I don't know if you remember this, James, but he ripped him down by the face mask, but he let him go. He could have tackled him, but he let him go and like slingshot him to the big field, and he ended up running it back for a touchdown. But that's the only punt really of my career that I wish I could have back. And I hit a decent punt. It was like 46 yards, decent hang. And Racey had him. He just let him go. But yeah, those moments when it's loud and, it seems like a pressure situation because the game's close and you don't want that play to happen really, because I hate to say it, but that punt return kind of brought them back in the game because we were beating them by at least 2 touchdowns at that point. But we had Joe Burrow, so it didn't matter. We're going to keep scoring on him. But that was after that, I kind of was like, all right, this dude's not getting another return on me. He's not touching the ball. So I was punting the ball out of bounds for pretty much the rest of the game. And he tried to return one, but he got smacked at like the 4-yard line. I don't know why he caught that ball to this day. But again, that was one of the situations. I'm glad he caught it because it was kind of my revenge, I guess. He got a TD in the first quarter or second quarter, and then I think it was the fourth quarter. He caught it at the 4 and got smacked. So I'll take it.
Is that your favorite punt of all time that you had?
There was one at Tennessee where I told somebody on the sidelines I just had a fumble. It was right when I just won the job in 2017. It was at Tennessee. It was like 45, 50 mile an hour winds. It was insane. It was that rain game. You couldn't see it on TV. That was one of the best games of my career. But I punted in the first quarter. The guy muffed it. They kept him in the game. And then in the second quarter, I told either a strength coach or I don't remember who it was. I was like, I bet you I get this dude to fumble again, because I realized how much the wind was impacting the game. And honestly, I'm glad we just stopped catching the ball. But it was wet and rainy and windy, and I knew I was going to get another one. So I punted another one, and I honestly, it wasn't a very good punt. I sliced it a little bit, but it gave it like a weird, path. And the wind aided it to becoming a wicked like curveball. And I don't know why that dude tried to catch it, but he muffed it again. And we got another, I don't know if you remember that, Michael Divinity recovered that one on like the 10-yard line, something absurd. And, but I'll take it. And that's that game. And, I really liked Arkansas and Mississippi State this year, but him muffing 2 in one game was pretty special, because I think I punted like 7 times in that game because the weather was so awful. Maybe even more, but it was a fun time. I mean, it wasn't fun in terms of like how cold it was and how disgusting I felt the whole game, but it was fun in terms of how much of an advantage it was to punt in that weather.
What is weather, Michael? What is weather? What is weather? Y'all have typically really, really nice weather. When I had Austin McNamara and talked to him on the Simple Kicking show this summer, I mean, we basically figured out that when he's in Lubbock, if there's an average of 14-mile-an-hour winds, but when he went back home, he was able to hold the ball a little bit higher because it's a little bit calmer. Actually, a lot more calm in Arizona. I mean, that's a punter's paradise, brother.
For sure. Yeah, Arizona's the spot to be. This year, when we travel, I mean, we had Oregon State was pretty terrible. And then a couple games the year before, like Utah and others. But generally speaking, yeah, obviously the Pac-12 is great. Highly recommend for all punters.
Yeah, and that big game that you had against USC, that was a pretty raucous crowd, wasn't it? I mean, that's an environment. It may not be weather, but USC could gets it going. And you had that week that you had Pac-12 Player of the Week, you balled in that game.
Oh, thanks. I guess the Aussies didn't think so though. They didn't put me on the Ray Guy, one of the finalists for that week.
Oh my gosh. Well, as we close this thing out, the McGahee Cup is something that I have my dreams on. And both of you guys will be representing Team USA against the Aussies. And what this is going to be is a like kind of a Ryder Cup in golf where you have Europe versus USA. Same thing we're going to have here in punting. We're going to have America versus Australia.
We'll see if you can pull it off. If you can pull it off, I'd be surprised. Do you think people are actually going to show up?
Yeah, I mean, I think so because I'm going to host it at Cowboys Stadium. As long as this thing gets cleared by the NCAA.
I'm coming then. I'm coming then. Yeah,
I'm coming. No, this thing is legit. I mean,
I think it's going to be more trouble getting the Aussies to come.
It'll be in June. I think it's going to be at a period in time. It's going to be in the second week of June. So OTAs will not be going on for punters in college and kickers in college. That's kind of like a dead period because coaches aren't really hanging out with you. You're just working out. So I'm thinking it's going to be like the second Saturday of June. And I'm working on the details. But dude, this is legit. I mean, this is going to be Team USA, the best Americans versus the best Aussies.
Hey James, can I record it too and put it on my YouTube channel?
Of course, you can do whatever you want.
I'll give you the credit.
I'll let Michael do the big punts, and I'll focus on the dagger and accuracy punt.
Hey, wait,
I won't even 75 yarders out of him.
Can we do a bench off too?
Yeah, well, hey, we'll do a bench off. I mean, we're gonna have like literally we're gonna have like a matchup, like a head-to-head. We're gonna have a head-to-head like punting match. We're gonna have a 2-ball format where one punter, hits it from the minus 3-yard line is the line of scrimmage.
Nice.
Wherever that ball net lands. Again, net, so it lands minus, because if he hits just a 2-second laser, well, that's coming back.
That would be impressive, James. 2 seconds and laser, that's going over his head. I've never seen that.
Yeah, and then the next punter takes over there and then hits the ball deep, and whoever has the best ball inside the 20 position.
Yeah, that's cool.
That's who gets the point. Yeah, dude, this thing's gonna be legit, and
pretty lethal combo right here. He gets the backed up one. I think he had like the longest punts this year, and I had the most punts inside the 20.
Inside the 20 percentage. Jack Martin, dude, the guy from Troy, he had 60% of his punts inside the 20. He had 15 balls down inside the 20 on 25 punts.
Jeez. Yeah, 25.
Dude, he had 25. He had the best punting year in the last 10 years.
Yeah, I heard that. I heard about that. I haven't really heard of him before, but I know that this year I was hearing his name.
Jack Martin from Troy had 25 punts. His average was 46.1. His net was 45.8.
Wow. I didn't even hear about him. He's not even on this list.
No, he wasn't. But Zach, you and Lucas Dean had the highest, the most amount of punts inside the 20, and your inside the 20 percentage was just under 46%, which is insane.
Yeah, that was a lot to deal with this year because thank God I was prepared for it.
Zach, how was punting in the national championship?
Oh, dude, it was wild. It was my first punt. I don't know. I mean, I'm sure you watched it, but my first punt was backed up. I was in the back of the end zone on the 1-yard line.
Really?
So there was some adrenaline there. Yeah. Our first drive, we got the ball. We had a penalty and then a sack on the 1-yard line, I believe.
Dang.
And so I ran out there and punted from the 1.
Wow.
My first punt was a one step, and it wasn't a great punt, but I'm just glad the dude wasn't confident in catching and returning it. So it definitely was not a good punt, but I'll take it because I wasn't trying to get a block punt in the first.
Oh yeah, for sure. And you guys won. I mean, shoot.
What was that like winning the national championship? It's something that I still wake up and I still can't believe we lost to Alabama. I really can't believe that we lost. I mean, our team was so good in 2011. What was it like actually playing in the game, winning the game?
I mean, going my whole life being an LSU fan and, watching it. And I think I even tweeted about this. I said, it's weird when you wake up and realize it's the most important day of your life. And so like that realization and like that, I don't know, it was bizarre.
I'm sure it was fun leading up to it too, huh? Like because bowl games are fun. I mean, but how much more so the national championship?
The reason it was so, I guess, different from any other game I'll ever play in is because it was in New Orleans. So it was in our backyard. Everybody's there.
That's dope. That's cool.
We're getting greeted by 5,000 people. When we go anywhere, Drago's, there's 2,000 people waiting outside just trying to get a picture.
Yeah, that must have been fun.
It was madness. It was wild. And I don't know how to describe it really because it was so unique in that we got to play in New Orleans an hour away from so it pretty much was a home game and it was a home-like atmosphere.
My brother actually played in the national championship too. They lost though. It was Notre Dame versus Alabama.
Oh, snap.
It's so funny, guys. Like people always talk about like, hey, I'm a good punter. I'm this, I'm that. But it's such a different, as you guys both know, when you play at that level, right? So Michael, you played at D1 AA, you excelled. And then you go to Arizona State, you excel early, quick. And this thing is happening rapidly for both of you guys. Zach, you do the same thing. You play in the BYU game. As you kind of see that progression going into the national championship, I've got chills thinking about it for myself because I kicked off in the third quarter. We lost 21-0, and I was the only kicker, the LSU kicker that played that game. Drew Alleman, who was our field goal kicker, he never got to play. I actually lettered in that game, so I know what the feeling is of taking that. But it's just a different level of the highest level of our sport that we have it, in this league, and so that's why I show that because I'm like, damn, dude, like I know that feeling, and I don't even remember it, to be honest. I blacked out. I mean, that's why, taking these journals are so important. But let's take a look at this next punt that's really, really good, just for fun. And then we'll probably get this thing wrapped up. I can't believe it's almost been an hour. We've just been here nerding out. I mean, hanging out. This is plus 40. This is the plus 49, middle of the field.
We put like our team out there like we were going left, and I punted it right, and he downed it at the 2 or 3 yard line. Nice.
That's such a good feeling, isn't it, Zach?
Oh my God, it's such a relief because it's such a pressure punt because you're like, okay, if I get it to just the 10-yard line, 10's not that big of a deal, but inside the 10, it's such a dagger for trying to drive down the field. It's almost, I don't want to say impossible, but the likelihood of you scoring is not very good, especially in the NFL. They're just happy to flip the field position in the NFL. I mean, obviously they want to score, but it's so hard to drive 98 yards at the NFL level.
It really is. And in these games, these are the moments that momentum can swing, and you put the dagger the opposite direction for Clemson.
But like it just bounced perfectly to the 2. So that was my best punt of the game for sure.
How cool, man. I'm so proud of Zach, we've never met in person. This is our first time really, chatting, and same with you, Michael, but I can say that I'm really proud of both of you guys. And I think this is such a cool story. I've had, I'm thankful to the Lord that I've had so many, it's not so many, but a handful of really cool guests like Thomas Morstead. And for some reason, Thomas Morstead and his story is coming up in my mind for some reason because, he too has an unorthodox swing. Blake Gillikin, that's the words that he used to describe Thomas's swing as it's unorthodox. Zach, you have it in the sky's the limit for you. And then Michael, you were so incredibly raw. Both of you guys, like I said earlier, seems like 10 minutes ago, but it was like 30 minutes ago. Both of you guys have NFL legs, NFL talent, and clearly an NFL mindset too.
Thanks, James.
If you just combine us two, and we got Jack Fox, right?
Well, guys, this has been so much fun. I mean, we may have to do this again when you guys are wearing the NFL shield or something like that, or this McGahee Cup. We'll do another roundtable if and when that happens. That'd be
a lot of fun.
Sounds good. Absolutely.
So, man, I really appreciate it, guys, and thanks so much for joining.
If you enjoyed the content, man, drop a like, comment, or even subscribe. It would be really cool to hear from you. Also, you can find Simple Kicking on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and even TikTok.